For thousands of years, religion gave people meaning, fear, hope, law, identity, and a place in the universe. So why are so many people now walking away from it? And if they leave faith behind, what exactly are they replacing it with? For thousands of years, religion gave people meaning. It told them where they came from, why they suffered, what was right, what was forbidden, and what happened after death. So why are so many people now walking away from it? People do not always leave religion in one dramatic moment. Sometimes they leave quietly. One doubt, one contradiction, one unanswered prayer, one wound that never healed. And then one day, they realize they no longer believe what once shaped their whole world. For many people, the crisis is not only about God. It is about trust. Trust in institutions, trust in leaders, trust in people who claim to speak for something sacred. And once trust collapses, belief often begins to collapse with it. That is one of the darkest parts of this story. Many people do not leave religion because they spent years studying theology. They leave because religion began to feel too human, too political, too tribal, too selective, too inconsistent, too close to power, too far from mercy. And then there is pain. Pain breaks systems, especially systems that promise meaning, because when someone loses a child, or watches evil go unanswered, or begs for help and hears only silence, the question is no longer philosophical, it becomes personal. The internet changed everything. For the first time, people could compare beliefs, read criticisms, watch debates, uncover scandals, and question inherited truths without needing permission from family, clergy, or community. And once doubt becomes searchable, it becomes harder to contain. And maybe that is the real question. Are people leaving God, or are they leaving religious systems that no longer feel believable? Because those are not always the same thing. Some leave doctrine, some leave institutions, some leave fear, some leave shame, some leave hypocrisy. For some, the answer becomes atheism. No divine plan, no sacred text, no higher law, no final judge. To them, atheism can feel cleaner, more honest, more rational, more consistent than defending beliefs they no longer trust. But atheism solves some problems by removing them. That does not mean it answers the hunger underneath them. Because once religion is gone, the old questions remain. Why are we here? Why does suffering exist? What makes morality matter? What replaces transcendence? What replaces hope? And this may be the part many people do not say out loud. When religion disappears, freedom can grow, but so can emptiness. Because belief does not only control behavior, it gives structure to chaos. Remove that structure, and some people feel liberated. Others feel lost. That is the paradox. People may reject religion, but still hunger for ritual, belonging, morality, mystery, purpose, and something larger than themselves. In other words, Many do not stop searching, they just stop trusting where they were told to search. And beneath all of this is the question many people fear asking openly. If there are so many religions, so many sects, so many claims to exclusive truth, how is anyone supposed to know which one, if any, is true? For some, that question leads deeper into faith. For others, it destroys the possibility of faith entirely. Every religion offers a map, a story, a moral structure, a vision of ultimate reality. But when different religions make absolute claims that contradict one another, many people begin to suspect that certainty may be easier to inherit than to justify. And once that suspicion enters, belief becomes fragile. What if many people are not leaving religion because they no longer care about truth, but because they care about it too much? What if they walked away not out of laziness, but because they could no longer force themselves to believe what felt unconvincing? That possibility is darker than simple rebellion. So what happens to a society when faith weakens? Not just rituals, not just labels, but the deep shared stories that once shaped duty, restraint, sacrifice, and meaning. If belief fades, what replaces that structure? Reason? Pleasure? Identity? Politics? Nothing at all. Because even in a more secular age, the hunger does not disappear. People still want meaning, still want purpose, still want moral clarity, still want something that tells them their suffering matters. And when religion stops answering that hunger, something else eventually tries to. And then comes the darker suspicion. What if religion was never only about truth? What if it was also about control? Control over fear, control over morality, control over identity, control over entire civilizations through the language of the sacred. Because once you look at history, one disturbing question appears. How many religious systems were built only to guide people toward God? And how many were shaped, protected, or manipulated by human power along the way? That is where faith becomes dangerous. Because now the question is no longer just what is holy. It becomes who benefits from declaring something holy. For centuries, religion did not only shape prayer, it shaped kingdoms, laws, punishment, education, marriage, obedience. And when something controls both the soul and society, people eventually begin to wonder whether it was always spiritual or also political from the beginning. That is why conspiracy enters the conversation. Not always because people are irrational, but because once trust collapses, hidden motives start to feel more believable than sacred explanations. And when leaders fail, when institutions hide corruption, when power wears the mask of holiness, people begin to suspect that something darker was always behind the curtain. And then there is the part many people hesitate to touch at all. Satan, the devil, the ultimate symbol of rebellion against the sacred. Across the internet, across subcultures, across conspiracy circles, people keep returning to the same dark idea. What if some forms of power do not merely reject religion, but invert it? That does not always mean literal satanic worship in the way horror films present it. Sometimes it means symbolism, mockery, reversal, the celebration of transgression, the fascination with corrupting what was once considered holy. And that may be what makes it so disturbing, because whether it is real, exaggerated, theatrical, or psychological, it reveals the same fear. That evil is not just denied in modern culture, it is stylized. Maybe that is why the idea of Satanism never fully disappears, because it represents more than rituals. It represents inversion, good turned upside down, the sacred mocked, truth made relative, sin made aesthetic, darkness sold as freedom. And in a world already losing faith, that symbolism hits harder than ever. So here is the question that remains. Are people leaving religion because they found freedom? Because institutions failed them? Because suffering broke belief? Because doubt became stronger than tradition? Or because once faith was weakened, the world offered nothing higher in its place? And if religion is collapsing for millions, what exactly is rising where it once stood? When people leave religion, do they find truth? Or just an emptier darkness waiting to be believed?